World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This is World News in 5 and I'm your host, Steph Vicente. Ukraine says it has reached a common understanding with the United States on a new peace proposal aimed at ending the war with Russia. The BBC reports the plan is based on a 28-point framework the United States presented to Kiev last week, with American and Ukrainian officials working on revisions during talks in Geneva over the weekend. U.S. President Donald Trump said the proposal has now been fine-tuned with input from both sides. He has instructed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow, while U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll will meet with Ukrainian officials. No dates have been set for either meeting. However, Russia says it has not been consulted on the latest version of the plan. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned that Moscow supported the original U.S. proposal, but any major changes could alter Russia's position. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he is ready to meet U.S. President Trump to discuss sensitive points and hopes the meeting can happen before the end of the month. In other news stories, in the United States, immigration authorities are now holding more than 65,000 migrants, the highest number ever recorded by ICE, according to the Washington Times. ICE is also carrying out arrests and deportations at historic levels. Since October 1, the agency has been averaging nearly 1,200 arrests and more than 1,250 deportations every day. Rosemary Jenks of the Immigration Accountability Project says the government should push even harder, arguing that many migrants should be easier to remove and that Americans would support large-scale deportations. ICE's surge in activity comes as part of a fiscal year update following delays caused by the recent government shutdown. From October 1 to November 15, ICE logged more than 54,000 new detainees, while Customs and Border Protection reported over 7,000. Homeland Security officials say they have expanded detention capacity with new partnerships, adding more space in facilities such as Alligator Alcatraz, Speedway Slammer, Louisiana Lockup, and Cornhusker Clink. And finally, despite recent travel warnings from Beijing and Hong Kong, interest in Japan remains high among Hong Kong residents. GG Press reports travel agencies stated no major cancellations of group tours and flights continue as scheduled. The warnings were issued after China urged its citizens to avoid Japan following comments by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi about a possible conflict involving Taiwan. Hong Kong, under its one country, two systems framework, echoed Beijing's advisory, but residents don't seem alarmed. Japan remains a top destination for Hong Kong travelers, many of whom have strong pro-Japan sentiments. In fact, more than 2.6 million Hong Kong residents have visited Japan in 2024, which is a record number. Hong Kong's updated advisory released on November 15 claims without evidence that attacks on Chinese nationals in Japan are rising. It urges travelers to stay vigilant but does not discourage travel. Only areas near the Fukushima No. 1 nuclear plant are under a low-level yellow alert. And that concludes today's edition of World News in 5. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.